All right, everybody. Welcome for this week's Chalk Talk. This is going to be the offensive one. We'll do a defensive one here in just a minute, but this is going to be an offensive one, and instead we'll go over some actual scheme where I'll draw on the chalkboard. But instead, I want to keep I want to start kind of going into concepts of the game and actually kind of football IQ as to why we're doing what we're doing, and kind of get into some more of the detailed stuff to really develop our overall knowledge of the game. So what we're going to start with today for the offensive video is we're actually going to learn about our offensive system as a whole, how it's built, what it means, and everything. And that's going to be North Star, okay? This is a football concept that basically means everything that we do has a purpose, and we learn that purpose, we study that purpose, and then it gives us our what and our how for what we're doing, right? So it's going to start out kind of, these are the points of the North Star principle, right? First, it's our foundation, right? For those of you who, go to church and know that, the North Star kind of, that led the journey to Bethlehem. This is our foundation, right? We have a foundational piece. We have a piece that everything else is built off of. Everything else reacts off of that one piece. And for us, our foundation is the wide zone series that we've already covered in the last two versions of Chalk Talk, right? Our foundation, what we're going to build on, right? I've said this to you, right? In order to build a mansion, and that's what we're trying to build. We're trying to build this beautiful mansion by the end of the year, right? In order to build that mansion, you don't start at the roof. You don't start in the middle of the house. You don't start by putting in a sofa. You start with cement. You start with dirt, and you build the foundation and you build it up. So in order for us to have an offense that works, we have to set a strong foundation, a foundation that everything else reacts off of and moves alongside. For us, that's going to be our wide zone series, right? That's going to be stretch, counter, boot, waggle. Those four plays, everything else we do would be based off those four plays. And technically, if we really want to get into it, this is really all built off of, even more than just the wide zone series as a whole, everything is built around stretch, right? Because stretch, our whole goal is to make the defense react to us one way and then punish them, right? So for stretch, if we're going to the right, let's say we're going this way with stretch, right? We're running stretch this way. Our goal, running stretch that way, is to make the defense back here start overcommitting to come that way to meet us, right? That's the whole goal. Well, as soon as we see the defense doing that, okay, now our foundation is laid, so now we'll throw in counter, where we take a step here and go back this way. Defense reacts, comes down, oh wait, the ball's going back that way, right? Or, we're running stretch this way, right? Defense is playing. Oh, but what if instead we make it look like we're doing stretch and then we have our quarterback boot keep, right? Everything is built off of stretch, and everything else is built off the wide zone series, right? That's our foundation. Stretch in the wide zone series is our North Star. That is what we are going to hang our hat on. That is the base of everything else that we do, right? But once you build the foundation, and having that foundation lets you look, right? So let's start talking details, right? The mansion analogy. You don't build the mansion by starting at the roof, but you also can't start by putting sofas in. But once you have the foundation built and a room plan with a layout, okay, but now I can start thinking, hey, this is where I could put that sofa, or this is where I could put my bed, right? Those are going to be the details that we can put in, right? So for us, those details are going to be zone blocking for the offensive line, right? That's details. We have to make sure we're taking that 45-degree angle, 3 steps up, we're getting an outside arm on somebody, and then we're climbing if we don't have anybody. Covered versus uncovered fundamentals. The details of zone blocking. The details of the cutback for the 3-backs, right? Making sure that the 3-back knows that there's going to be a hole that opens You have to read the defense. If we're lined up, if our guy's here and their guy's here and we're running stretch, is he going to the outside? No, his cutback is going to be here even if the play is designed to go there, right? These are all details. For the quarterbacks, you have to boot every play. Every play you have to boot so that when you actually do boot keep, when you run boot, they suspect it. You have to run boot, so when we run raggle, they suspect it. And then we've got to be aggressive, guys. We've got to stay aggressive. Okay? Football is a game of aggression. We've got to stay aggressive, right? So, once you have your foundation, it allows us, with that foundation, to know what details we need. We need all of these details in our minds constantly in order to continue to build on the foundation we've set with our North Star, which is the wide zone series or stretch, right? Knowledge, right? Knowledge. How do we get knowledge, right? How do we get knowledge? Well, we come to practice, right? Practice is a great place to get knowledge, right? Ask questions. You can mess up in practice. I want you to mess up in practice, because if you mess up in practice, that means that you're learning, right? Because if you mess up in practice, we're going to correct you and you do it better the next time. So practice is a great place to get knowledge. Where else is a great place to get knowledge? Well, if you don't know your plays, you probably need to look at your playbook. You need to look at your playbook. You've got to know the plays, guys. We've got to know our plays, right? If you don't know the 4 plays I just listed, stretch, counter, boot, waggle, you should know them. You've got to know your playbook. That's another great source of knowledge, right? Playbook, great source of knowledge. You know what else is a great source of knowledge? These videos are a phenomenal source of knowledge. Look, this video right here, we're going over a lot of stuff, right? Whole big brain concepts, right? These are great outlets for y'all to learn and pay attention and soak it up. So please, watch these videos. Watch them 2, 3, 4 times if you can. Watch them whenever you have free time and you want to learn and get better. I promise by watching these videos and the ones that keep coming during the season, it will make you a better football player. I promise, because it's getting your brain thinking about the game in a higher way than most kids your age, right? Most coaches aren't doing this. They're just doing their practices. I promise you, if you spend the time, you will learn a lot, right? So it's that practice, playbook, videos. And then, guys, guess what? You can go out and find film about the wide zone, right? A lot of it may be high concept, but if you want to, right? If you want to, you can go and find film about how to block for wide zone or how to run in wide zone, right? I'll send links to different things eventually, but like these are great ways to get knowledge, and knowledge is our friend because knowledge allows us to not think on game day and just do, right? The more you're in your head and the more you're thinking, the worse it is for you. We want you to just be able to act quickly, fast, without thinking, be able to react, right? So knowledge is great. And why is knowledge great? Because once we know our details and we have knowledge about, once we know our details and have knowledge about our details and our foundation, it allows us to execute, right? We execute practice, right? When you take a rep at practice, you go as hard as you can, right? Even if you mess up, you go as hard as you can because we practice how we play. I promise you, you will practice how you play. If you practice lazily, you will play lazily. If you practice hard, you will play hard. And if you practice hardest, that way when we get to the games, it's not going to matter, right? Execution is in practice. Execution is in studying, right? Right? If you're actually watching these videos and paying attention to them, it's different than if you have it on in the background while you're playing Fortnite, right? Or you're studying your playbook. It's different if you're actually using the playbook system that I use for y'all, the link that I gave y'all. Y'all can take quizzes about what I've already done. Take those quizzes. Use those quizzes, right? That's execution. That is actively executing on the knowledge. And if you don't get it right, go and learn, study, go back in, give yourself more knowledge, and then come back and take the quiz again to execute, right? Execution, which will allow us to execute at a high level on game day, right? That's the end goal, is we're executing on game day, right? And if we're executing at practice and we're executing when we study, and we're going back and getting our knowledge, focusing on our details, and we know and we've built our foundation, that's going to allow us mastery, right? Mastery. The only way to become a master, every rep, every time. You're putting all of this to use. Every rep, every time will allow you mastery, right? We want to be masters of what we are doing. If we do what we do better than other people, we win, right? I always kind of say colloquially, I will bet on my kids every single time because I know what I'm trying to do. I have the plan. I've installed this, right? Guys, every rep, every time, right? Execute during practice, during studying, which will allow you on game day. If you execute every rep, every time, it'll give you mastery. And what does mastery lead to? Success. And for us, what is success? What is our goal this season? One goal. That's our goal. That's our measure of success, right? Obviously, we can have a successful season without being bad, but that is our goal. That is our goal. We were there last year. We want to get back. That is our goal. One team, one goal, and that goal is the Super Bowl. And if we follow the North Star principle, we build our foundation, right? We will not move on from this until we have repped it and repped it and repped it and repped it and repped it, and we can do it while we're asleep. And then we'll move on to the Power Series, because the Power Series builds off this, because once we start getting them to the outside, we're going to start pounding the rock up the middle of the field because they're not going to be ready for it. They stretch wide, boom, we go up the middle. They come back to the middle, boom, we go back out wide. Or we mix them and then they don't know what they're doing and we catch them flat-footed. But we've got to get the foundation down first, right? We've got to get our foundation down first. How do we get our foundation? Once we know our foundation, once it's been made, we can do detail work. We can do detail work, which gives us knowledge, and we can gain knowledge, which allows us to execute. And execution allows us mastery, and mastery brings success, right? So that is the North Star principle, guys. That is how our offense was built. Now, a little bit of X's and O's that I can give, and this might be one of the longer offensive chalk talks, so I will try to limit it, and we'll do more X's and O's next week. But for instance, right, let's look at the purpose of the playbook, right? I know I talked about it a little bit, but let's actually look at it on the board. So I'm going to do it out of Bronco because that's what we've learned right now. So we got center, guard, tackle, tight end, guard, tackle, tight end. We have our quarterback and our 1, 2, 3, right? That's what we have. So the play call we're going to look at, and I'm going to kind of show, we're going to look at Bronco right stretch. That's where we're going to start. We're going to start with stretch, right? Our North Star, remember, our North Star is the wide zone series, and specifically stretch, right? And this is why. And I'm going to lay it out in a way that you can see and understand, right? So let's put it against, let's say that we were playing a team that's running our Miami look, right? They don't. But let's just say, right? So if it was Miami, we'd have an end, we'd have a tackle, we'd have a tackle, we'd have an end, right? And then we'd have Sam, Jack, Mike, and Will. And then we'd have a corner out here, and a safety up here, right? So if we execute everything that we're supposed to do correctly, right? Okay, the 3-back is getting the ball, and he's going to the hip of the tight end, right? This guy is on the inside. So if he comes down, this guy right here comes down, the back should know he's on the inside. He could technically bounce out wide. This tight end is going to kick block with everybody else, get his arm here. This has him. He's going to help and then climb. He's got him, help and climb. He is going to allow this in to come through, right? We're going this way, right? If he's on the inside and he blitzes right here, right, and we run this over and over again, right, say this is how their defense is designed. He's coming here. He's technically supposed to block here, but he'd get picked up by the guard and he's coming right here, right? So the only person here would be the Will who can make that play, right? But in order for the Will to make that play, this guard's going to come up and hit him. So he, technically speaking, if we do everything correctly, right? And I know it's kind of messy, but ignore all the red for now. I'll just do it this way. So ignore the red down here. But let's look at, again, end, tackle, end. Okay, so the Mike and the Sam, in order to counteract that, if we keep doing this and putting this guy at leverage, the defense is going to have to change what they're doing, right? So how is the most common way that the defense is going to change? Guys, I started in this league as a defensive coordinator. I know how they're going to change. And do you want to know how they're going to change? This is exactly how they're going to change. Instead of being lined up here, the Jack and the Mike are going to scoot out a little bit, right? The Jack and the Mike are going to scoot out a little bit, and what they're going to do is they're going to bring their offensive or their outside linebackers down. So he starts lining up already out, right? Or what they'll do, if they don't do that, that's a common one that you'll see, right? Or what they'll do, the second common one that you'll see, is what they'll do is they'll actually move this Sam, so it would be Mike, Jack. They'll bring the Will all the way down, and they'll line Sam up here. So now they're playing, right? Because technically speaking, we're looking, in their head, we're looking to take the ball here. But guess what? Once they do this, right, let's just count numbers, right? Let's look specifically at numbers, right? If we're just looking at numbers, take the center, right? Take the center and draw a big box where the ball is supposed to go, right? Okay, we're going to count how many people we have, and then we're going to count how many people they have. And this is a good way to look at it so you understand what we're doing, because I want you to have the knowledge of what we're doing, right? So let's look. We have, the center technically doesn't count. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, right? So we have 3 guys on the line versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He counts because he's over there. 6. 3v6. Ruh-roh, Raggy. That's not good. That's really, really bad, right? But that's if we keep doing that. If I see them adjust like this, what do you think? What do you think? North Star, the whole series is based off stretch, right? We run stretch, they adjust. Now what's the play call? If you're sitting at home and you say, oh, that's when we run counter, or that's when we run boot, you're right. And why is that? Well, let's do the same thing over here, right? 1, 2, 3 versus 3. And technically it'd be 4 if you count him, right? But corners in this league really can't tackle. Plus, we have guys who are coming, right? Even then, let's change our numbers. Let's change our count a little bit, okay? Let's count the 1 and the 2 back. Or technically, let's count the 2 back because the 1 back is actually coming up and wham blocking here. So let's not count the 1 back, but let's count the 2 back so we can look at full numbers, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's still 4 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. That's not good. Well, 1, 2, 3 versus 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, wait, 4v4. Which one's better? Do we want to take the ball into the 4v6, or do we want to take the ball where we have numbers in the 4v4? We want to take our numbers in the 4v4. And if we notice that this backside end is crashing too hard, we'll audible out. We'll call him off of his wham block, and we'll have him go out. Which, what does that mean? That's now a 5v4, right? So which one's better? In that moment, which one's better? Obviously, we want to take it here into the 5v4, right? That's what we want to do. So everything that we're doing, right, is going to be based off of that, right? Now, let's say we've run counter a couple times and we've punished them. So then they have to make an adjustment again, right? They have to adjust, and they're going to adjust back to they're going to adjust. And they're actually going to bring the Sam down where the Will is. Because they're like, okay, you're punishing us on stretch, you're punishing us on counter. We're going to bring down to the outside. Guess what the next play call is? If you're saying waggle, you're right. Because now they're expecting us to run. So what we do, corner, drag, boot by the quarterback, flat by the 2. He has 3 options. These guys are going to come down against 1, 2, but he's likely to come down. So there's 3 options on this side of the field, right? Because we read 1, 2, 3 for your check down against 1 corner and 1 safety who's compromised because he has to get over here. Everything is a Lego. Think of it like a Lego tower. You start at the bottom and you build your way up, right? That's what this is. They adjust, they bring him down, waggle. Oh, wait, now they're way over adjusted, right? So the last bit, I know this is long, I'm sorry. So this last bit, so it's been over and over and over. We've run the same things. So here's now what they do is they overly adjust, right? So now they have a corner. They bring their Sam all the way down. They bring their Will down, or their Jack down here, right? They leave Mike in the middle. They bring Will down here. They float their safety, and they have their other corner, right? With their end, they go wide. Their tackle, they go wide because we're pounding the ball outside. Their tackle, they go wide. Their end, they go wide, right? Now they're spread out because we've used our North Star, right? We've used our North Star. We've used the wide zone series, and we've spread them out. Well, whoa, good golly, coach. Look at these massive holes that are open here. Here. Here, here, here. Because we've made them stretch out, right? So now there's massive holes open. Well, now what do? We learn the power series. Because now, instead of the ball going out here, the ball's going here or here. Or pop pass, getting passed over the top when they crash, quarterback pops the ball. Everything builds off itself, but we get to this by using everything we already talked about. Use our North Star, use the wide zone series, use stretch to make them play our game, right? So I know this one was a little bit longer, but I hope we learned something from it. Thank you, especially to you who are new. I hope you learn a lot from these. There will be more. There will be another one here in just a minute. We're going to go over defense super quick. But thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Chalk Talk. For offense, I'll get the defense one out as well. But again, that's our North Star. That's how the offense is built. And the more knowledge we have about how and why we're doing things, the better for us. Thank you for tuning in to Chalk Talk. My name is Coach Duke, and I'm out.